Hello investors, thank you for joining us today for this video, and I'm very excited, especially as we welcome new investors in Lagos. We also want to use this appreciation to also remind you that there are pitfalls that you should avoid, and that is why we are here on this video, and we are talking about four types of real estate or landed properties in Lagos, especially in Ibejuleki, that you need to avoid. I'm telling you, you need to jump back from these lands. Now, number one is, but before I go into that, please, I'll be right back. Thank you. For so many people, investing in real estate is one of the most important decisions they want to take. As a family, as an individual, even for many businesses, acquiring real estate is one of the surest way of investing your money. But at the same time, there are loopholes, and many people who don't know about this end up suffering or losing their hard-earned money in lands such as this. And that is why in this video I'm discussing about these four types of land, especially for those of you who are in Nigeria, who doesn't know about these lands, especially in Lagos, or you are a Nigerian or a non-Nigerian who is living outside Nigeria and wants to invest in Lagos. This is also very important, especially when you want to buy a land in Ibejuleki. Ibejuleki is becoming one of the fastest growing locations in West Africa because of the largest single train Dangote refinery situated in that location. You're also talking about the international airport. You're talking about industrial locations such as Eleganza, the Pan-African University. You're talking about Alaro City. You're also talking about the Lekki Free Trade Zone. You're talking about Power Oil. You're also talking about the seaport at the same location. What does it tell you? The prices of this place is going to skyrocket, and everybody wants to have a slice of this location. But at the same time, you need to avoid, number one, untitled lands. Untitled lands are very terrible lands because they have no proper documentations. In fact, you cannot be able to ascertain their genuineness or even the owners of this land, and the titles it carried are not guaranteed, and it is very difficult to upgrade this kind of documents, especially if you have bought them before. It's a lot of challenges trying to upgrade this land title, and they are usually not free from government encumbrances because they have some underlying beginnings that has roots to government ownership, and that is why they don't have clear title, or the titles have not been approved to those communities or to the buyers of those land. And because of this difficulty, it is a trap for many people to buy, because they will tell you, oh, it's a freehold, oh, it's a registered survey, oh, it's a excision layout and block layout. Those are not land titles. The genuine land titles that is approved or known in Lagos are excision, gazette, C of O, or the governor's consent. These four documents are very well recognized in Lagos and to some extent in other parts of Nigeria. But I'm only familiar with this in Lagos because now the government is putting strict rules when it comes to land documentations, and those of them who are selling untitled lands are making it difficult for you to get your property in the future because they are not usually free from government encumbrances, especially if the titles cannot be upgraded. Now, we'll be talking about government lands. Now, it's very important that you recognize that all the lands, either by state or by federal, is owned by the government. Now, because of this, some areas of the lands are being excised or gazetted for residential purposes, for development purposes, for those who wants to live and work in the states. These communities or these lands are being excised for such purposes. Now, those lands that are being excised are the lands that you can buy that are safe, But any land that falls into a government reserve land, these are some of the pit traps that people fall into because they are not well spelled out. Sometimes if you go to Alausa, for those of you who know Lagos very well, Alausa is where you have the government secretariat, especially when it comes to land issues. Now, if you visit the Land Bureau office, you will discover that some titles, or when you do the first set of search, you can find a title that is not really the original title. Now, if you go further into doing more search at the office of the Surveyor General, you will see that some of those lands you think, the titles they share with you online or to your WhatsApp, or they tell you this land is safe, many of them are not safe. So when you do your due diligence, you can be able to see that some of this land you think, or the documents are out there, people will screenshot from their laptops, from their phones, and tell you this is from Alausa, and they will send it to you. There is a chart that is not free from anything. Sincerely, many of these lands has been traps for people, and it is very important you run away from government land, because these lands have been set out for infrastructural development and cannot be compromised. And even if a particular government allows that during its tenure, another government may come in and demolish all those or any development on those lands, because sometimes they have been reserved for some infrastructural development, secretariat, hospitals, schools, primary schools, and even as partnership, as share of partnership with other foreign investors. So this is areas you have to avoid. These are the lands you have to avoid, especially government lands. Now, we will be taking you in one of the most interesting lands you can find in Ibejuleki, and that is the Omonilas lands. The Omonilas are the owners, or the indigenes, or settlers in Lagos, who were the first settlers and were able to make a claim to a land. And sometimes, this is the funniest part, it is very popular. You find it from each stop to each stop. Every city, every suburban is owned by a community, and their lands, if you are not careful, you will lose your hard-earned money. Now, because these lands are being sold to you by family members, or a father or a son of a family that has access to this land, they can sell it to you. And when you don't make any step into developing that land at the instant you bought it, either making a foundation or a fencing or putting a gate, those lands can be resold by the same seller who sold you that same land. So now, you see how tricky Omonilas lands can be. It is very interesting that you understand how these people's mindset work, and see, even if you are buying a land off a gated estate and you are buying from these guys, you need to be smart as they are. Now, what they do is that sometimes they sell you a land, and in a couple of years, when lands appreciate in that location, they automatically claim that land they have sold to you. And when you come making claims to the land, they suggest you take back your refund, which was in that time a very little amount of money compared to its value at that current time. Now they also tell you, okay, fine, we cannot give you back your money, but we can relocate you. And now they take you to somewhere that is far from where you saw or the first time you bought that land. Probably it could be swampy, probably it may be more far inside that is going to take you a longer time to develop. So these are the pitfalls that many people have experienced. Many people have actually fallen into the traps of these people. I have so many people who have testified to falling traps, and they have preferred, especially if you are a Nigerian living in diaspora, it is important that you avoid those lands, because you may not have the time, you may not have the you may not have a trusted person that could come there every time to make sure that that land is safe. Sometimes even when they are fenced, even when they are gated, claims are also there that these people are, they make a lot of trouble. Another reason why Omonilas lands are very tricky or are some of the worst lands to buy is because of the youth. Now, there are several scenarios. I've been in construction for a while and I've experienced this several times, especially when you are trying to develop that piece of land or that piece of property you bought. For every trip of sand that comes, granite, materials that comes to your site, you are being taxed for it. Now, aside from that, whenever you get to a milestone in your construction development, what happens? They come, they beat up your workers, they scare off everybody, destroy your work, your materials, and they ask you to pay 500,000, a million, 2 million, depending on what you want to bid on the location. Now, if you are buying in a secured estate, all you need is just to make a developmental payment and you are free to make your project without anybody disturbing the process of your construction work. But in this case, you have them coming at every point in time when you want to do your foundation, or maybe you just did your raft foundation and you want to do your lintel the next stage, or you want to do your decking, or you want to roof that house. They are always there at all of your milestones, demanding huge sum of money. But we know that the Lagos State has a law in place that restricts these people from taking some of these steps, but sometimes you still see them out there. And what do? For you to have your work continue, you do what? You pay them. But is that the right thing to do? No. So it's important that you better look for a secured location where you are safe, your workers are safe, your construction site is safe. That is why Omonilas lands are some of the lands that you need to avoid. Now, it also has a very poor title. Omonilas lands really have a poor title because they are lands that have been exercised to community, and these communities retain those titles for a long period of time without actually going to do upgrades on those titles. So you owning a piece of plot in that accession block or that community makes it difficult for you to also improve on your land title. That is some of the reasons why Omonilas lands are to be avoided. Another interesting land or type of land to avoid is cheap lands. Already, being cheap already raises an eyebrow, and that is why it is also one of the lands that you need to avoid. Sometimes you see a land for 550,000, 700,000, 1 million, 1.2 million. So many of these lands have issues. Yes, they have a low entry point for you to make, or as a young person, you may want to make your investments in real estate. It's okay. I want to start small. I want to start with a property that will not cost me much. At least let me hold something. Now, because the land is cheap, you actually go for it. But what happens? The prices or your money, sometimes if it's being sold from a real estate company, is used to upgrade such properties, and in many cases it doesn't happen. Now what happens? You have a land, a property that you cannot develop, that you cannot quantify its value in the market because these titles are not genuine. Some of these titles include accession in progress, registered survey, freehold, or even survey or accession block layout. Those are not land titles. Those are not approved land titles by Lagos State government. So any title short of accession, gazette, a C of O, or a governor's consent, those lands have issues and would take a very long time to sort out by the government. So it is important to avoid such lands because their titles are always poor and they are used to lure buyers into buying into such poor lands. Many of them are swampy also, so it requires a lot of money if you are buying into those locations to do sand filling. So that is another reason why you see a land that is cheap. It's important not to forget that in all of these land titles or this land that you need to avoid, the most important takeaway for you is to do a due diligence on any land that you want to buy. If you are interested in a particular location, you are interested in a particular estate, you are interested in a particular property, you have to confirm or ascertain or verify its land title, because it is only through the land title that you can be guaranteed that your investment or your development in that land is guaranteed. Government owns all lands, and sometimes during development phases they might demarcate some areas that have even right titles, but in that case there will be a compensation made to owners of those lands. But in a case where you don't have the right land titles, no government will make compensations for those lands. So it's important for you to always go for lands that are secure, that are well titled, if you want to keep your hard-earned money safe and secure, and you want your peace of mind. So what do you need to do? You run away from these lands. So for those of you, my friends, investors who are thinking of investing in Nigeria, especially in Lagos, it is important for you to consult a verified and a credible realtor, or you can also consult a surveyor. Someone like a surveyor can help you go to the location, take a chart of the location, go to the land bureau office and run this location, confirm its credibility, if it falls into a government land, or if it's a land that has no title, or lands that are hidden under the option that they are cheap. All these things are important for you to verify these lands before you spend your hard-earned money in Ibejuleki. Government is putting strict laws in place, and those people who bought into such laws or into such lands, there could be a remedy. But for some of you who are yet to buy, you simply have to avoid these types of lands. It's very exciting having to see that many people have made important decisions when about investing in real estate, and they have also bought into good locations and into good titles. That difference that you want to pay in securing one of these lands, only a difference could be made in securing a more convenient, more secure lands for you. It's your decision. But whatever you're doing, if you want to invest in Ibejuleki, especially in Lagos, you need to do your due diligence. A verified realtor or a surveyor or a property lawyer can be of assistance to you. That is why we are here. So reach out to us if you are interested in investing in a land in Lagos and you want a land that is free from any encumbrances. You want a land that is not any of these lands, then we can help you. Thank you very much for listening, for watching our videos, and we'll be coming up with more of these questions and answers from our readers who wants to know exactly what they can do when investing in Lagos, especially in real estate. Thank you very much for watching our video today.